So gamers, I was here in the middle of stream when I tried to log on to Hoyoverse, and I got hit with a, you know, account signed in the new device, right? Which wouldn't have been true because I'm always on the computer. Well, here's the reason. They're implementing their age verification stuff, right? And if you don't know the reason for this, right, the context is that a while ago, right, the FTC had a ruling against Hoyoverse, specifically targeting Genshin Impact, right? But of course, it's going to affect the other games because it's all it's for Hoyoverse specifically, right? Um, and the FTC wanted to ask for a couple of things, right? I'll pull those up in a minute. But this will affect Hoyoverse's other games, not just Genshin Impact. If anybody was wondering, right? I know Genshin Impact had a post about this not too long ago. But yeah, this is something that we need to be aware of, right? As I don't know the way they're gonna implement it, but this is something that we've known was gonna happen, because Hoyoverse agreed to the ruling, and so to comply, they're going to implement some features that are specifically targeting uh, at the children from blocking them to be able to do mass purchases, right? Obviously, there's a bit of, legal gray area with these things, what's allowed, how people can get around it, so on and so on, right? And there's also some controversy about how people would say America is targeting China specifically, right? That's not really my focus of it, and I don't think it's necessarily like I don't think there's enough to say that it necessarily was that specifically because the time it happened, they were also targeting like TikTok and other companies, right? Correlation doesn't exactly mean causation, right? Like I don't think there's enough there to say that they were targeting them specifically. Um, but yeah, I do think it's important to talk about this as this will affect Hoyo versus other games, and it's likely to even affect future gotcha games or other gotcha games like Kuro, for example, which Kuro, yes, they haven't been hit with anything from the FTC, but following Hoyoverse, who is the biggest in the space right now, it's probably going to have some trickle down effect where if these companies want to operate in the US, they're going to comply with regulations that get put in place, right? That are likely to happen relatively soon. We know the EU has some of these in place, and I will actually pull this up because I do agree with um, like some of the ways that they're going about doing this, right? It's not perfect, but I do like some of the ways these features are implemented, right? And this is the biggest example of it, as you can see here. There is now forced parity on the prices. You're now able to see the direct amount of currency you get equivalent to the dollar, like the US dollar that you are paying for it, right? This I think should be in every game period. These not external, but these limited currencies only exist to have a disconnect from the player to how much money you are actually spending, right? That's all they serve for, right? Because they could just have you directly pay for pulls instead, and you would be like, okay, this is $5. And this right here is now removing that, barrier that's supposed to like block you from realizing how much you're actually spending, right? And I think this should be applied to all gotcha games, 100%, right? Um, again, I know the EU has been pushing for a lot of this stuff, and I do think this is a good step in the right direction for multiple reasons, and that these games should be transparent, right? Because it's not a good idea to have these dark patterns, which is something that other companies have gotten lawsuits for. Epic Games really had this massive lawsuit over dark patterns specifically, and to an extent, you can argue that these games trying to trick you is a similar thing, right? It's not exactly one to one, but the goal is to make you spend money that you maybe don't realize how much you're spending, right? So it's pretty much the same thing. Additionally, this I do like as well. They are updating their banner page, as you can see here, to list the probability on the front screen equivalent to the amount of money you could theoretically spend to guarantee the character, which, according to their calculations, is higher than I actually thought it was. It's from $1.98 to $475.20, right? That is an insane amount. I didn't think it was that expensive to pull a 5-star at the max pity in these games, but if you're really unlucky, well, shit, there you go. It's now right there telling you how much you theoretically could be spending just to pull one copy of this character, right? Pretty crazy when you actually see it in front of you, right? And that's the idea, right? It's so that you are like, oh shit, wait, I'm actually spending this much money, right? It's like it's kind of the idea of this thing, right? Same thing for the weapon banner, right? As you can see here, the weapon banner one is capping out at $422 per weapon. This is after they've lowered it. If you played Genshin Impact, like 2-3 years ago, it was actually harder to get weapons. And even before that, at launch, it was basically statistically possible to not even pull the weapon. That's right. If you played Genshin Impact from launch until like partway through year 2, I think is what it was possible to like not even pull the weapon. They implemented it, or no. I think it was after Homa they did it. They did it like after, because there's this like big fiasco with like Tectone where he pulled like, I don't know how much money it was. It was a ridiculous amount of money, but he pulled like 20 weapons before he got like one Homa. And so then they added the fate point system, as you can see on screen, right? And it was 2 fate points, and then only more recently they've updated it to reduce it towards like 1 fate point, right? So you're now more likely to get the weapons than you were back in the day, right? So it is what it is. And then this is part of the reason for it, right? So in January 18th, 2025, Cognosphere, the distributor of Genshin Impact, and as well as the other Hoyoverse, IPs, has reached a settlement agreement with the United States Federal Trade Commission to strengthen and increase transparency around our parental consent and virtual currency practices. And again, it's primarily focusing on these virtual currencies. Like I said, these currencies only exist to make you have a disconnect between how much you're actually spending on the game, right? And the statement from Cognosphere is below. Animation style games. I'm assuming they mean anime games. Is probably just a like direct translation. And shows are well received by global audiences and players across various ages. Genshin Impact is a popular free-to-play anime style game designed for older teens and adults. See, they claim it's for older teens and adults, but I don't really agree, because they did do a bunch of changes to make it, I believe, for everyone. To be fair, I could be wrong. I'll just honestly just pull it up on here. Well, we can look at the rating, right? I'll double check myself. But I think it's pretty clear, right, that it's not entirely designed for teens and adults, right? The very simple gameplay makes it easier for younger people to get into it. And sure, you could argue that it's definitely the teen range, but I'm just saying is that I think it's a bit disingenuous to say that it's only targeted for teens and adults. You clearly want to go for mass market appeal, so that you can get more people playing the game and actually spending money on the game, right? And okay, I was right. So it is rated for teens, right? At least the ESRB. Granted, ESRB is not perfect, but again, they're gonna Hoyoverse is gonna stand by the fact that it is targeted towards teens, right? So that is officially what they have said, and it makes sense. But I think it's pretty clear based on the design of some of these characters that it's not exactly for that. But that's really here or there. I don't want to go on too much of a tangent there. While we believe many FTC allegations are inaccurate, we have agreed to the settlement because we value the trust of our community and share a commitment to transparency of our players. To be honest, I don't believe them at all for that. I think they purely did it because if they tried to argue, like if they tried to go to court for this, the money spent trying to go for court against this would have outweighed the fine, because the fine was only like what, $50 million, or like not even. Might have been 20. It might have been 20 million. It was an incredibly small amount for Genshin Impact that like alone has made them like $6 billion. Like it's like pocket change for them what they had to pay, compared to what it probably would have been to do a drawn out legal process with the U.S. government, right? So like, I can't believe them on this, because why? What reason should they to be like, oh yeah, we agree, they're claiming that's transparency with their players. No, it's in your benefit to hide it. It's like statistically in their benefit for them to hide it. it's really, I cannot believe the fact that they were wanting transparency with their players. Obviously, a lot of players will see this as a transparency thing and will believe this narrative, but I find it hard to believe them on this point specifically because it's honestly in their benefit to hide how much people are, spending on it. And so they can say that all they want. I'm not going to believe them. Because the whole point of this is to, at least the claims from the FTC, to be fair, is to protect children, right? And they're saying the FTC's allegations are inaccurate, and to some extent they are. They're not specific enough, right? I did read over it back whenever this was first dropping out. But like, let's be honest here. Hoyoverse knows what they're doing with their monetization. They have intentionally monetized Genshin Impact in a certain way, and it works really well. Obviously. So they can say that it's for transparency all they want. I'm not gonna believe them on that. I'm just not. But the point is that the amount they had to pay was comically low, and so I'm pretty sure they just rather pay off the fine than go out through a long legal process, right? And that again, they simply agreed because it just didn't seem worthwhile to fight against it when they're probably still going to make the same amount of money, even with that displayed. Because despite the fact I think people are still going to buy the money anyways. Maybe there's a few people that are just like, oh, maybe I won't spend that, right? But it's not like, I don't think there's going to be enough to where they're just going to like lose $1 billion, right, or something like that. It's not that. I don't think it's going to be that much of an impact, but I could be wrong, right? I'm not Hoyo. So yeah, under the agreement, we will introduce a new age gate and parental consent protections for children and young teens, and increase our in-game disclosures around virtual currencies and rewards for players in the US in the upcoming months. As you can see, they're implementing it across the board for all of Hoyoverse's stuff. For their, I think they host 5 games currently. I don't know if there are other games like I think it's Honkai Gakuden, or like Honkai, or Gun Girl Z. I forget what the other ones are. I don't know if those are still active. But as you see, this clearly is, coming from like, it's clearly gonna be implemented in all their games, right? This is a post I saw a while back. It's 9 days old, right? But pretty clear that this was gonna happen, right? I don't know if there's like any other post on Hoyo Lab here. I'm just gonna click OK and see what it gives me. Error, session timed out. Oh, security verification. I already did this. Oh my god. Okay, bear with me one moment as I redo this, as I decide to go and yap or stream here to do a little video on it. I did see someone commented, right, about something. Don't say the number out loud, even though it's not really that important because this is recorded after the fact. But good practice. Yep. Oh, here it is. Yep, I have to put in my age. Right. And oh yeah, okay. So I did read that chat right there. Yes, you can just lie about the year you were born, right? 100%. Again, like, that's what I was saying earlier. Is like, there are ways to get around this, and yeah, it had me just put in my age, and that's it. It literally just had me put in my age. But yeah, like, again, there's ways around it, right? Like I could have just lied about my age there. I didn't because I'm old enough. And I don't really care. I mean, sure, obviously to some extent, information privacy, blah blah blah. I get it. But as I've been saying, like, it's obvious that this is gonna be implemented in other games. Also, hey Vanilla, what's up? How you doing? And I don't know when they'll implement it inside of like Zenless or Honkai Star Rail, or like even Honkai Impact, but I'm fairly certain with the way Hoyoverse like goes about things, they rather do what they can to keep their business going as is, to its quality level, which is why in like Zenless and like Genshin Impact, right, you have characters muted for the long time because they want to meet that quality level. They want to keep people locked in, to keep it going, right? They want you in their shared universe to keep spending money, right? So they make profits, right? And so it's only they're only going to make these moves in their benefit, obviously to standard and obviously to legal code. And if, the FTC is like, hey, do this or we're going to fine you more, right? They rather just, bite the bullet, make the changes and move on and keep business running, right? At maximum operating capacity, so on and so on, right? It's why you see so many drastic changes, with Hoyoverse games as of late, because the execs are like, yo, this ain't working. You got to do something. And so like, okay, so they're doing something, right? Same sort of thought process, right? Um, but yeah, I think we can end the conversation there on like whether or not it's going to be implemented into the other games. I'm almost certain it will be, right? It's only going to be to their benefit to do that, so they don't have to worry about any legal troubles going forward, right? Regardless if it's targeted or not, and regardless of if the games are quote unquote targeted towards children, right? So on and so on, like whatever the reason may be. Um, I just believe it's going to happen. I don't know what you guys think. Tell me what you think about it down below, right? And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.